Welcome to Instagram, people, and here on Facebook too. And then this will all be on YouTube also. So, welcome to you all at this perhaps extra powerful time, extra magical, lots of energy, things happening in the stars and the moon, right? As we're being told by the scientists and the astrologers and the astronomers that today is a day where we have a full moon and a blood moon and a lunar eclipse that is said to be the longest lunar eclipse of the century. And it was kind of fun in my just this morning thinking, oh, maybe it would be fun to make today's video, today's broadcast, meditation to work with the energy of today, right? And to even share like how I see we can use a meditation to be in this energy, to use this time, this power. And yeah, really, I'm just going to like see what comes through as we get into the meditation. So it's going to be a playful leap for me to share the blend of practices I like to use here. But it'll all be stuff we can do sitting. So stay tuned for that. We'll be doing that in a few minutes. I also want to talk about like what I've heard and learned from some of my favorite energy teachers and people who study the things like the stars and the eclipses and the perhaps bigger meaning for a lot of us if we want to own some of the possibilities of this time, if we like that idea, if we want to play with the power of if we're being affected by what's happening, by the moon, by the planets, by the energies, and if there is a collective thing going on that we're all a part of, that we're all feeling and moving through. And even as I hear the street cleaners going by outside, that this can be a lot about letting stuff go, making big changes if we want, which maybe we always have that power, I like to think, but maybe there's even more power to do that right now. And maybe even more of us are in that place of doing that right now. And so that also might mean that we might feel a little overwhelmed with energy too, that we might be feeling the energy of the full moon in ways that doesn't feel good or don't feel good. So that's about this, or this is about that too, and that's about this too, that we can see that it's also a call to more union, more connection, more tuning ourselves, and even responding to how we might be feeling in a more connected way would include doing things like pausing to do more meditation maybe on a day like today. So yeah, so we'll do that together. That's what I want to do, lead you here through. And yeah, I think that's all I want to say on that point. And I did even bring some tools that I've learned to blend more into my practices and uses of, I guess, like earth medicine is things like clearing tools like sage. So I'm going to burn a little sage for us to just honor that we're like clearing the space of right now and clearing our own energy. I'm just doing that for all of us as a way to like drop into a practice. And already know this is going to be a lot about like clearing the energy of ourselves and letting stuff go that we're ready to let go of, which is always like a good thing, right? And then I've also learned and been taught that it's great to then next follow that up with like a sweet smelling scent and a way to almost like invite in the sweeter energy. And so I have this Palo Santo, which is this wood that you can burn that is said to have properties that help us clear energy, bring in new, fresh energy. And so we're doing that as a start. And then, yeah, if you have these things at home, you might play with them a little more today as you clear your space and yourself and play with what's happening today. So clearing the energy like that, we're getting all hippie on you. And then, yeah, I want to share a little bit of what I've heard about this time, what could be happening with the energies, with ourselves, with our inner selves, with our lives, with our growth, with our changes, with our healing. So yeah, I have some notes I wrote down. These are some from a teacher I like, Andrew Martin, who is a teacher on energy and teaches a lot about this stuff and does broadcasts in time, when things are happening with the stars. So as he was talking, this is a time for like a big crossroads and a big energy shift for a lot of us. Like an eclipse always means that. People who, teach about this stuff would say that an eclipse is always a time for big changes and big energy shifts. And I would say, especially if we want to and we choose to, right? And it's about opening ourselves up and receiving energy, which is interesting. That also helps you see why we'd want to use our practices more maybe at this time to allow that. Because if more energy is trying to come in and we're just kind of doing our usual things, it might feel a little like too much, or we might even feel tired. We might feel, I imagine, like over energized in ways that don't feel good. Maybe anxiety, maybe stress like feelings, maybe overwhelm, or we might feel really just like tired, which would be a call, both would be a call to more practices that can like reconnect us, right? And even relax us and refresh us and renew us, whatever that is that does that for you. And that this is the time to do like an energetic leapfrog into new levels of awareness, which is really fun. Andrew is calling an eclipse is like a software update for us. So that's really fun to consider, that maybe if our consciousness is continuing to evolve, and if we're even buying into this idea that we're like getting downloads of information or new levels of consciousness, like maybe that's happening extra right now. So again, even more reason to do more of our clearing, more of our centering, more of our practices, which I'll be doing soon, leading you through some of the ways we can do that at a time like today. But what else did Andrew say? That an eclipse can represent a restart, which is really fun. I'm always up for a restart. And again, I really think you can do that anytime, any day, anywhere, any place, as you choose. But maybe there's even more energy support for that right now. Maybe the progression of the planets and the planet. And if even more of us are in on that energy, maybe there's even more power and possibility to it today, right? So a restart. And it's our job, he would say, to be present and ride the wave, which is cool to think that that's what we're doing with our things like yoga and meditation, is just remembering how to like be present and ride the wave, right? What else did Andrew say? Sometimes things may be falling apart to push us to the edge so that we have to change. So we may be noticing that things in our lives may be falling apart in a sense, but maybe, towards what we even want more. But yeah, that this, and I know a lot of teachers, another person I've been listening to is Katie Diem, I think is how you say her last name, who does Generation Indigo Astrology. She might even be here. We're friends, and she does amazing posts, and her posts were talking a lot about how this is time to like really get into our authentic selves and let go of like what's been holding us back. And then of course we know we have this like Mercury retrograde stuff going on, which at first you might think, if you believe in any of that stuff, it just means a bummer or challenge or things going wrong or things being harder. But I love that, again, the people that I listen to. Also, Cassandra Vitale is someone who I love to listen to on these things as well. Just with a more empowering twist. Like it's a time for a retrograde, I think, means about like reviewing, redeciding, re-choosing, re-creating, resetting, just like this kind of going within more, probably it's going to mean, and reflecting, redirecting too. But it's so maybe, again, all of this seems to point to maybe more use of our practices, more use of our tools, more use of our rituals, more use of our power, right? So that we can make our way through it and use it to maybe leapfrog into a new reality, as Andrew would say. And so, yeah, I like also Andrew was talking about this continual theme that we're all probably working with, that our life really seems to be a reflection of our relationship with ourself. Oh boy, right? But right, that's like also really good news because that's one thing we probably have a power over. So that's a lot of what we're doing with these practices too, isn't it? It's just reestablishing that relationship with ourselves, right? And a way to reestablish a relationship with our lives, much less improve our lives or improve ourselves or change our lives or change ourselves. So Andrew had some good questions, which maybe we'll bring this into our meditation time that, we can be really looking at like, what am I choosing to do? What's my truth and what am I standing in? And how do I choose to express my truth in this moment? And also a lot of looking at like our beliefs, I think, as always, right? About how much that affects like what we're allowing and what we think is possible. And it's interesting, if you don't know already, that's all part of yoga, like the mindset that we get into and what we're looking at, what we're doing with our practices and with meditation is getting a chance to just check out more what the heck is going on with us, how we are thinking, how we are feeling, how we are believing. And then we can start to decide if we actually do believe that, if we do want to function from those beliefs. Because someone I was listening to, I think it was Matt Kahn, who's also like an amazing teacher on the planet right now, I've been re-listening to. So amazing. Um, but he was talking about how a lot of us are functioning from this place of like getting into a higher vibration, getting more connected, more in a place of love, that kind of thing. But we're still functioning from these like beliefs that are more lower vibration or more from like a survival place even, that are just kind of like old and ready to be let go of. But yeah, part of our practices then help us even see when that's happening, and then much less be able to deal with it or change it or re-choose. So all getting us back to more yoga, right? More union, more meditation, which doesn't mean more poses. It might for you if you like that as one of your ways to connect, which I do, and it's a great way to tune our energy. So I use it, and I made sure I did my mat practice before I came here to talk to you, because that's such a part of the way that I tune myself energetically, and knowing that I'm letting go of stuff and really getting a chance to embody more how I do want to feel. And it's time to like look at myself, listen to myself, be with myself, and like tune up what's happening in there as well, right? And then the quieting that we get to do. So we'll do some of that as we get into the meditation here. Yeah, but I love that we can see how like the symbolism or the things that we're getting invited to work with something like this kind of like full moon meditation eclipse idea can like just be an invitation into our practices more, but to carry on into the next day, right? And it seems like we always need to be up leveling our practices. Not that it means we're going to need to be doing more and more hours in the day. That I think it's just about being more strategic and aware of how we are using all of our moments as much as possible, right? And then as much as we can, fitting in those things that really tune us. That's really why I like that term, because it says so much, because it also shows you it can be anything, like for me, it's my time in the journal is one of my hugest practices. One of my hugest practices. And I'm such a different person, such a different version of myself when I don't do it. And the more that I do it, the more that I'm in tune with myself and even tuning up myself, right? And my awareness, much less my beliefs and my mindset and my focus and my creating, right? And my relationship with myself. That's where we can see that a lot of this is about our relationship with ourselves, and even maybe our higher self, our more loving self, our more pure self, our more true self, our more divine self, God within, right? Like, yeah, really cool to start to see. And again, if you're into the whole yoga thing, union, what the heck do you think the union is that we're probably talking about? On the highest levels, it's that, right? Union with God, or union with God within, or union with that part of us and life. And then starting to really see that in others, right? Is that next logical step, which maybe even or just as challenging, right? So yeah, but that's part of our tuning too, so that we're tuning to that in ourselves, so that we can see that in ourselves, so that we can be that, and then that we can start to see that in others, like all others is like the invitations, which is really like, yeah, right? So, but there you see, like, the work you're doing is not just fucking selfish. It's not just you. And it's not about you getting in your freaking wall of isolation and protection from the world. That is not what our practices are supposed to be about. You know, they're supposed to be, in my opinion, they're supposed to be about more, yes, doing that so that you can find that and feel that. But then, being in the world, bringing that to the world. And that's the reason you're doing it, even. So sure, and you may find inner peace and feel inner peace and be happier, but yeah, you're also going to be a way different person in the world. And to me, like, that's what's even more important, right? So maybe that's a convincing point for us to do our practices instead of just thinking, oh, I should do it so I feel better. It's like, oh no, I should do it so I'm better in the world. Like, that's, I think, the more current realization with this kind of work. And like, if we don't do it, and then also we start to see how we feel when we are doing our practices, and then we try dropping them, right? That's not pretty either. So we really, it's about, yeah, I guess it is about a discipline, which I think I hate that word. But when you realize, like, it's a discipline with yourself, and it's a deciding that it is a lot about how we feel too, right? Is important, and it is going to affect who we are, how we are, and who we are and how we are in the world, much less within our own head and body, right? And life. So, yes, you needed the convincing. So, if you're here listening to this, thank you for listening and trusting me and taking your time and energy with this, because, life is so rich and full, right? There's so much out there we could always be doing. So, to spend any time doing anything nowadays, you realize it's like, whoa, that was part of my time. I fit that in. So thank you for fitting this into your day. That's such an honor for me. But also, like, give yourself credit for, like, you're obviously on this path of, like, wanting to be aware of your awareness and wanting to do what you can to tune you, and even probably wanting to do what you can to help your world, whatever that means, right? Whether it's just the people in your household or in your neighborhood or in your community, or on whatever level you're feeling like you want to help or that you care, right? And that's where we can turn the caring and the upset into, like, tuning ourselves so that we can use that to help, right? Instead of, like, shutting down about it. Yeah, probably more on that. So anyways, okay, let's get to some meditation, shall we? So if you want to join me for this, then get yourself comfortable. So shift around a little bit, get in a position that feels comfortable. And you don't have to be sitting. You could be just listening to me, right? And it is important that you're comfortable, though. So if you do sit or lay down, it's said to be better for us to be in a symmetrical position for energy flow. And if you're sitting, if you can be sitting more like upright and straight and aligned, and find a way to make that comfortable, so it's not like you're like killing yourself to be here, because it's hard to get a lot out of it if you're just so uncomfortable the whole time, in my opinion. So comfortable, aligned, and then we get to start to make it about relaxing, and that's a lot of what we'll play with too. But let's shift around as much as we need to. And then even we're going to bring some mudras into the practice, because they're such a great part of it, which are the poses with the hands. So let's start with that classic mudra that we all probably know just from, like, advertising, right? The index finger to thumb mudra, which goes with this idea of our practice being about connection, and even more like inner connection and, like, divine connection, and the connection we're going for, however you like to see that. So put the hands in that position, and then let's just put arms by our sides, and we could turn the palms up, which kind of is a gesture of being more about like being open, receiving, receptive. And then let's invite ourselves to get more still and start to just add a more relaxed approach as much as we can. And a helpful tool with that is to soften your face and your jaw. And that's going to help the rest of your body start to relax, kind of like a domino effect for your nervous system. And then let's just kind of look around the room that we're in or whatever environment we're in as a start to our practice, getting more present in right now. Take in the shapes and the sights and the colors and the lights as a way to like use your senses to bring yourself more present on purpose. Tool of mindfulness. And then start to hear sounds more too, which of course is going to include my voice, right? And this too is like tuning your awareness, your attention more into right now and getting into more of a listening. Body's going to start to bring us more into our body more, which is part of the reconnect for a lot of us. Or in our heads a lot of the day. And then as soon as you want, feel free to close your eyes, because that's such a wonderful tool too, to just be willing to close your eyes more often. And as like a sign, right, that you're going within more, bringing your attention inward, and that there is going to be some time now for you to be listening to yourself, to be with yourself. And so you get into that listening mind with the sounds, right? And it's like we get to start to just turn up the volume on our presence is a really cool way to describe it. I picked up from another teacher I like, Shannon Algeo, I think is who I heard that from. So turning up the volume on our presence is a lot of what we're doing, which is just so cool how just doing that feels better, doesn't it? Just starting to become more present, listening, feeling, noticing in the moment that we're in. It's a lot of what we get to just do with our practices, which is a skill, right? Nowadays. And then in the mind, we're starting to become more of a listener, which is going to start to make this more of meditation, becoming more of a listener with the mind. And so we're hearing thoughts roll through, right? We're starting to observe and watch thoughts more is the idea. And thoughts will be rolling through. And this is part of the therapy that we get to start to listen to what we are thinking about, what is on our mind, what are we focusing on, thinking about. And then a tool we bring in that helps from yoga and meditation is non-judgment as we're watching and listening what's happening in the mind. So we're just checking out the content without deciding if it's good or bad or right or wrong. And then even gets us in this position of like being more of like a watcher and observer and seeing that the thoughts are kind of just like happening on their own. And then we do get to play with doing some quieting as part of meditation. I've come to learn and share. Of course, right? We hear that. But I think it can be about seconds at a time of quieting for most of us to play with that. So just doing this more listening mode starts to quiet us more in the mind. We'll notice. And then we can create windows of quiet, pockets of quiet with little tools like imagination. We can imagine things like a windshield wipe action to kind of wipe through the mind, to clear it, quiet it. And really even 2 to 5 seconds of quiet mind, we now know is like super refreshing and curative and a big deal. So I would say just try for that. Kind of like you're wiping the canvas of the mind. And it is refreshing. It is boosting creativity to do that. And it does even start to redirect the thinking to do that, to just quiet the mind for some seconds. Even if it like roars back through right after, right? And then you're just watching, listening as the thoughts come back through. And then playing with, the quieting. You can also do the quieting so many ways. That's where things like sound are so awesome. And using sound intentionally really helps us play with that quieting of the mind. or even imagining things like a clear surface of a lake in the mind can help us quiet for seconds, or so many ways, right? Imagining sky. But yeah, I would vote for aiming for seconds of quiet. And then also that listening mode with the non-judgment is just as important. And then the good news too is you get to start to listen more to that more divine part of you too, or of life, or however you like to see it, the universe, when you're doing this listening, quieting. So that's where the inspiration comes in, the creative flow, the good ideas, the answers, the solutions. So that's part of why we're doing this listening, part of what we're getting to do with meditation, and part of why also you don't want to think it's just about turning off all thought. In my opinion, it's about observing those everyday thoughts happening, quieting the mind, tuning ourselves, and then starting to tune in more with that listening to, that maybe more divine part of us, our heart, our soul, our spirit team, our angels, the universe, whoever we think we get to listen to in those times. Yeah, isn't that so cool? And so that's, been a new awareness for me to really let meditation be more and more about that. And even with starting to get into like what we want and what we are creating. So let's get into that soon. But yeah, so we shifted gears internally, right? And then let's even like relax the body more. Just play with how you can soften and relax the body. Always be willing to adjust and shift your position as needed. I would say as a yoga approach, to be more listening and honoring your body, and even just noticing what is happening with your body right now. How's it doing? Are there places that are calling for attention? Maybe after this, you might, lay down and do a couple things that your body might guide you to do. And that's where, I do love to help hook you up with ways to use the poses to take care of the body, whatever's happening with it. And then even energy-wise, just noticing how we're doing, non-judgment, and even emotionally what's happening, checking it out. All part of what we do with our practice is just this even tuning in, like, okay, what is happening, right, from our non-judgment. And then we can start to change what's happening, right, because it's all energy and it's all connected, and how we feel is such an indicator. So let's do that a little bit. We've started to do the relaxing. Let's get into breath, right? That's an amazing tool from yoga and meditation. So one simple, easy way to use breath to feel a ton better is to start to breathe more into the belly, because a lot of us just breathe into the chest. So you might put your hand on your belly and just start to breathe into it with your next inhale. Just slower, fuller, filling it up like a balloon. Feel the refreshment of that, the fresh energy coming in, the fresh oxygen. And then the exhale is just as important. So out of your mouth or nose, slowly let all the air go. Like, don't shortchange it. Let it be long and slow and complete. And then start to do that more, a slower, longer belly breath. And even use imagination, see and feel that breath, bringing in that fresh energy, that fresh oxygen. And then the exhale, feel how the exhale is relaxing you and actually helping you start to let stuff go. Energetically clear stuff out. Free up some of the stuckness or the ickiness or the old things you're ready to let go of. So you can really get into that with the breath, that you can be starting to breathe into the body, knowing it's storing some of that stress, some of those memories, some of that trauma from the past. And that as you breathe into it, you can start to gently free it up, let it go, and facilitate that, leaving you as part of you, just freeing yourself up to be more who you are now, right? And to let go of those old beliefs, those old ways, those old patterns, those old ways of even holding yourself, right? So get into slower, longer breath. See that, feel that, see how it's doing that house cleaning for your body, really. Like, and the more you're using that imagination, the better it's working. That's a placebo effect. We use it to our advantage now. Just you thinking about how this is helping you, feeling that, seeing that, makes it work better. And then even doing things like smiling help to ease and relax the whole body, boosts the brain with serotonin, those good feeling chemicals. So feel free to add that. Even just a little half smile at the corners of the lips is really a classic meditation tool. Okay, so those mudras. Let's bring the hands together and even like rub the hands together, create some fresh energy, some fresh light, and keep breathing into the belly. Keep using those exhales. And then let's put those hands in front of the face and just breathe in some fresh energy. Exhale out more stuff you're ready to let go of. Good. And then let's bring the hands together right in front of the heart center. This is another classic mudra, isn't it, from the yoga meditation world? Feel how it's so centering, so aligning, and really connecting you with like an inner sense of connection right around like that solar plexus. I've been getting into that a lot more lately too, how that's such a place of feeling connected that we can like root into with ourselves as part of our practices. So feel yourself connecting more there and keep breathing slow and long into your whole body. Keep clearing yourself out, relaxing more with those exhales. Remember, the more relaxed you are, the more soft you are, the easier your energy's flowing. Remember, and like if new energy's trying to come in, it's going to help you be ready to receive it so much more flow and ease and fluidity going on, right? When we're holding ourselves just softer. And a lot of that is just conscious. I noticed that with myself. To just keep playing with softening the face and jaw. Keep experimenting with relaxing the rest of you. Even if you notice you like re-tense up because it's just such your habit, then just once you notice that, relax. You know, that's where you're reestablishing that relationship with yourself, with your body, how you hold yourself, how you're holding your energy, and then how much that's changing how you're vibing out to the world, right? So now let's use another mudra. How about we play with the mudra of harmony, which is hands, thumbs. Let's see, how does this one work? Gosh, I almost don't remember. Oh yeah, we do the loop of the circles. That's right. Index finger to thumb loops. And then these three fingers connect, and we bring that to our heart center. And what if we just eased into, settled into, relaxed into this as like harmony? Like what if this could be more about like more harmony with ourselves, with who we really are, how we really want to be, how we really want to feel and function in the world, be in our relationships, be in our projects. And feeling that rooting into that solar plexus area. And even just feeling ourselves sitting on the earth or laying down wherever we are, just like so connected, so supported to the earth, even like beneath us. Just feeling already the changes you've made, the shifts energetically, physically, even mentally, if you're feeling a lot more present, listening, awake, aware. Great. Okay, let's let that mudra go and just kind of shake it out. Maybe stretch the arms up overhead to realign the posture. Breathe. Keep letting stuff go with those exhales. And just kind of be intuitive with gently moving your body in some ways that feel like you're helping yourself free up some more of that stuck energy, tension, tightness, old stuff. Use your breath to breathe into that too. The ways we can like release the trauma that we're holding in our bodies just from the stress of life, right? Breathe into it and just experiment with, play with what you can let go as you exhale. Great. And just notice how you're feeling. Maybe experiment with some more quieting of your mind. Maybe another windshield wipe, or even relaxing your mind like it's just another muscle. That's another thing too. I read that retrograde, sometimes the mind can get busier, and so that even more could be the reason to do more that quiets us more, that brings us present and mindful even. And the things that we like being present for makes sense, right? That's where even you can see like a cup of tea is such a practice. with our focus and attention, and like a self-care gesture, or listening to music that we love. These are really amazing practice, much less dancing. Great. Just notice how you feel. And yeah, part of this is this energetic reset we get to do with ourselves with our practices, especially knowing this is a really good time for that right now. And did I say actually that right now, while we're doing this broadcast, is when they say this lunar eclipse is happening? I looked it up when I was like, what time does the actual lunar eclipse happen? I was like, oh, it'll be 10 a.m. our time that it starts, and it goes for 3 hours. So it's pretty cool. We can't see it from North America, I guess, because it's lunar eclipse, so it's happening, other parts of the world, they can see it. So we're doing a practice during it. Yeah, and maybe now some time to, and maybe now we can just like rest our hands in each other's support there in our laps and just rest, whatever position you're in, at ease more. And now let's do a little, just towards the ends here of our meditation, a little more of that listening within, maybe feeling like we get to listen more to our heart, to our soul, to even like God within, divine within, the universe. Kind of intentionally asking for, oh, I want to like tune into that part of me in life more, and even just get a little more open to receiving, like, what do I want for my life right now? And even just like letting images come in, like that might even surprise you. Thoughts, images, like you're receiving the ideas and the answers, the inspiration, the solutions, the clarity. And maybe it's even just like ways you want to feel, much less like what you want manifested in your life in other ways. And while we're doing this, we could be breathing more slow and long still, which is always going to be helpful in great energy medicine. And still practicing relaxing. And then I know full moons are a really good time for letting stuff go. So maybe tuning into what we may be ready to let go of more, to move it forward towards how we really want to be feeling and functioning. Just see what comes to mind, what comes to heart, what comes to your awareness. And maybe it is a lot about those beliefs that have been holding you back, about what's possible and who you are and what you're worth and all that. So ready to let go of. And then so often, yeah, in our practices, we get the insights, we get the realizations. And so it is about, after this, going and doing that. So that's part of our practice and lifestyle, is doing this reconnecting time. So we realize, so we get the information even, right, or the answers, the clarity, and then taking that into life and doing it, right? So whatever we realize we want to let go of, maybe there's some ways we can take action towards that after this. And even knowing more what we want to create, maybe there's some ways we can write about that, draw about that, vision board about that, or just imagine about that more, right? As a yogi thing to do, to imagine what we do want. Because that's so powerful. Great. And then what if we just bring it towards a close here with just being aware, and you can have your eyes open or closed, of course, of this day, this power with the blood moon and the lunar eclipse, and just being open to the energy of it in a playful way, maybe, and knowing that just the more relaxed we are, the more we're using our breath, or more we're realizing it's all energy, the more we're even moving as we feel inclined. And yeah, making those choices as much as we can towards what's going to fill us up, what's going to fuel us, what's going to reconnect us. Again, not for the selfish, old-fashioned image of the yogi meditator who's just content with themselves and renunciating the world, but because you're so aligned and so connected and filled and fueled with that energy that you just can't wait to bring it to the world, right? And just, you know, what I've realized, one of my, I could say, goals now, I got this from Matt Kahn, is to love fearlessly. Like, that is like powerful. I love that. So to me, that's like goals. But what does it take for me to love fearlessly? I see more than ever is about me doing these things to like care for myself, to center myself, to tune myself so that I'm ready to do that, right? And so, yeah, part of my loving fearlessly includes that, what we're doing here and now. So give yourself credit for being here if you're still here on the broadcast and for being someone who's into how you can tune you so that you can help the world, right? Much less enjoy your life. So thank yourself. Let's put a hand on the heart towards the end of our official practice here and just silently thank yourself. And even like what Matt Kahn teaches, I've been practicing this more, like to even say I love you to yourself. I love you. He'll lead you in like saying I love you, and like really changing that dialogue with ourselves as a power tool. And thank you. And then, yes, I think that seems like the next logical step. That gratitude is such a huge tool. So let's really root ourselves in that before we part. Start to invite your attention to just focus on listing the things you're thankful for in your life right now. Like, meditate on your beautiful life. Like, oh my gosh, thank you for this. Thank you for this. Thank you for this. Bring to mind, bring to image, say it out loud, say it in your head. Thank you for all these things that are so wonderful and going so great. Even when there's always going to be something that's not going great, right? I think I've learned that in life. But it's about us being thankful for everything that is going well so that we have the energy even and the focus to even solve the things that aren't going well or to survive them, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's see ourselves going out into the rest of the day, really rooted in our thankfulness, in more of this loving perspective, this loving vibe, right, with ourselves, with the world. And then it does translate into your body, right? Feeling more relaxed like this, being more in touch with that breath. Keep using that breath all day long as the energy tool that it is, as the therapy that it is. Now you've reconnected with that and you have that awareness and the relaxed qualities you can always add. It's always going to help. And that listening and that quieting and that non-judgment. That's the invitation. You get to bring it all with you. So you don't just do those things during the practice, but now try that with yourself throughout the day. The non-judgment, more like self-love. The listening, the quieting, the honoring, and knowing that it's all about tuning, and that the more you tune you, the better you're going to feel, the better it's going to go, right? So thank you so much for being here. You are amazing. And here's to this big shift, this energetic leap. Let's see what's ahead. I'm excited. How does it get any better than this? That's a great tool from Access Consciousness. Just keep asking ourselves, how does it get even better than this? How does it get any better than this? Whatever's going on. So here's to the adventures ahead, and I'm excited. Let's bring our hands together to close the practice. And this part gets us in that namaste awareness, right? That light in me, that divine in me, that God in me is bowing to that in you, remembering that in you, right? And that's what all this is really about, getting us back in that place, that namaste awareness. So I'm so thankful to share this with you. Thank you so much for being here, y'all. Loving you. Namaste. Namaste to the eclipse and the blood moon. Yeah. Okay, closing it up here on the Instagram and the Facebook. And